My Jesus Experience, the show where real people talk about an extraordinary God. My name is Tito, and with me I have Esther. She's a PhD holder. She's also a water walker. She's a Chief Encouragement Officer. And I am so excited to talk to her because she's someone that inspires me a lot. Hi Esther, how are you?
Hi, Tito. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming. I know, you have things to do. You have a baby and your husband, and it's Saturday. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so we were talking earlier before we actually started shooting, and you said some things that really I found very interesting.
Okay.
I was talking about how you have a PhD, and I was saying that a lot of people have PhDs, but they don't actually use them for what they do now.
Right.
And you're more involved in ministry than you are in what your PhD, which was marketing.
Yes.
So can you just give me more information about that?
So it's really interesting because obviously I'd worked for about 5 years before I started the PhD. I have 2 masters, one in marketing and one in research. And when I started the PhD, I did it because I wanted to almost like hone into one particular area of marketing. Because when I thought about myself, I always saw myself as somebody in like a C-suit. You get with a CMO, chief marketing officer of a company, or you get just like a high flyer, in career.
Yeah, nice suits.
That's how I saw myself, but obviously the Lord saw differently. So I started the PhD, I think actually 2011, and I moved back in 2014 to get married. I got married in 2015, and so when I was moving back, I was this close to finishing the PhD. 1 year later, I was still this close to finishing the PhD. And I was just like, God, what's going on? And so in 2016, January, I went on a retreat with God. So I was so frustrated. Because even when I was moving back, they're like, they're looking for you. Did you get, marketing, PhD? Yes, there's so many jobs. I'm like, yeah. Well, 1 year later, they have not found me. So when they were looking for me, they hadn't found me. So I started to have a retreat with God. And so I put 3 things on the table. Before I moved back in October, somewhere in October 2014, 2 weeks before I had started Girl Talk, which we'll probably get into later. So I was going to put before God 3 things. 1, my career, 2, the PhD, and 3, the ministry. And so I told God, okay, you can talk to me about any of the 3 different things, in no particular order. But in my heart, that was the order that I wanted him to talk to me in. And so the first day he talked to me a lot about ministry, even giving me the blueprint for the Girl Talk conference. The next day, the PhD just tells me it is done, and I'm like, I don't understand, because if I didn't have to, if I didn't have to write Jiggets 100,000 word thesis, you can tell me it's done, and I'm like, yeah, but he's like, it's done, like literally, and he was done. That was it, 30 minutes. So I sat there for the remaining 3 hours, but he didn't say anything more about the matter. Yeah. Then the 3rd day, which was supposed to be the career day, I ended up repenting of my vain ambition, which was not how I saw that conversation going. And so that was in January. In February, I found that I was pregnant. So I'm not understanding this, Lord. What's happening here?
Getting in the way.
Yeah. So I was like, And my daughter was due in October. But throughout the year, God just kept telling me it was done. And so randomly in July, my supervisors who had been quiet, for months, they now said to me, that what's going on? We're planning to have your viva, which is, the PhD exam, towards the end of the year. So what's going on? So as God works, it became apparent I was going to have my daughter in the UK, and so everything was going to tie together.
Perfect.
So yeah, perfect. Yeah. So I had 2 different due dates for her. In Nigeria, she was due on the 28th of October. When I got to the UK, she was due 20th of October. But my PhD was due to be handed in on the 2nd of October. Now, my PhD was the exact same place that I'd been, was moving back.
So nothing has actually happened?
So I literally had 4 days to write 4 chapters from scratch. 4 days. No, a week. It was a week. So when I 4 days remaining, and all I wanted to do was sleep. Like literally, that last trimester sleep.
Just like you're just waiting for the baby to come out.
And I wanted to sleep, and I told my husband, you had to pay. My husband was like, you should be done. In fact, you even be done before the deadline. I'm like, how is that possible? So on Tuesday morning, it's due on Sunday. On Tuesday, I wanted to sleep. And so I spoke to my friend as well. She was like, she didn't even know what to say to me because legit, I wanted to sleep.
There's no time here, you're allowed to sleep.
But God is so amazing. That night, he woke me up. I wrote 1 chapter. It sounds, this is stuff that 2 years I had not been able to write. Next day, I wrote 2 chapters. Somebody called me out of the blue, what do you need me to do? They helped me with my references. Long story short, this thing was done Saturday at 6 p.m. Submitted it, on the Monday. And then they told me that my viva was supposed to be on the 2nd of November. Now, literally, yeah. So I no problem. I didn't. In fact, when they even saw me, because they hadn't seen me, so they didn't know I was even pregnant. I didn't tell them. So like, oh wow. So like, no problem. I'll have my baby, then I'll be there for the viva. The person that was supposed to be my external examiner, she couldn't come, so she rearranged it for the 15th of November, which is my birthday. So I'm like, God,
has to be a birthday present.
It has to be. Do you get? I have to pass this viva, because what kind of birthday will it be if it goes, south? And trying to prepare for the viva, I couldn't. I had a newborn baby. I wasn't sleeping. Whatever spare time, I just wanted to sleep. I'm like, God, how's it going to be? Even when I had the mock exam with my supervisors, they were looking at me like, is this girl a serious human being at all? And so the day came, and normally I couldn't study, but God just, he said I should go and read 4 different articles, which I did. I made sure that I did, but those articles, I read those journal articles. And then the day, I thought I'll have a good night's sleep, wake up at 7, head to bath, to be there for 10 o'clock. My daughter was singing, I want to say she was singing to me happy birthday, to like, hey God. As in, my husband was on the phone, video call, trying to get her to calm down, she didn't hear anything. Anyway, so I didn't sleep. And then we head to bath. So I thought, well, I'll get to bath for an hour and then prepare. We got to bath like 9:45. My viva exam was at 10 o'clock. I thought, okay, I'll get to the room and pray. My supervisors followed me into the room. They were just chatting. I'm like, oh, Lord. So nothing went as I planned. But something wonderful happened. As the exam started, I just felt this peace. And I was just answering them. And literally, one of the best results you can come, apart from having no corrections, which nobody really does, is having minor corrections. And that's what I passed with minor corrections. Now, even my supervisors were shocked. They were like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, she passed with minor corrections. So God just did it. So now I have the viva. I have the PhD. Yeah, exactly. Okay, now so in my mind, so I'm like,
time to get the job.
Hey, all of a sudden, yeah. In January this year, God now said He wanted me to go into full-time ministry. I was quite confused. I'm not gonna lie.
So I'm sure you're thinking, I did all this PhD. I went to school. I did
forget all that. Hello, we spent money.
Yes.
It's not even money in naira, it's a foreign currency store, you understand?
UK pounds.
Yes, for years. And you're like, I'm not understanding you, Lord. You need to come again.
Exchange rate of today? No.
And what if you want him to be full-time ministry, then why do I have to spend? I've gone into full-time ministry from first degree. Yeah, what's all this about? And so, me and God, we had like words, so I'm coming. So I did a mini journal because we have come further than we used to be. So I didn't really run, but I was there, but not there. And then literally I had like a health scare in I can't remember month, because anyway, I had a health scare, and this is the middle of my running, and this was like March, and I just said to God, okay, I was like, okay, Exodus 23, 25, 26, it says, I will bless your bread and water, I will take away sickness from your midst, there shall be no barrenness or miscarriage in your land, and you shall live a full and complete life. Yes. He said, you will serve me and I will bless. So he says, okay, I said, okay, Lord, you want me to serve you? I will serve you, but this is your covenant. Yeah, so no problem. I'm not running again. I'll do what you want me to do.
I'll do the ministry if you insist. No problem.
But this is your own part, which is you said you would bless my bread and water. You take away sickness from my disease, and I will live a full and complete life. So I'm doing my part. You do yours. And literally, that was the part to healing, and he did it as only he could. So I've been on this journey now, and it's an interesting water walking experience, but we thank God for it.
So from the PhD, now you're actually in ministry. So it's not actually what you studied that you're doing. So let's talk about the ministry aspect.
Right.
Now, I know you have Girl Talk conference, right? It's called God in Real Life.
Right.
I remember last year I'd seen it, and I remember listening to some of your interviews, and you're talking about how you chose a hotel, which is one of the biggest venues. You didn't even know how you're going to pay for it. And one thing you keep saying is God said, God said, God said. A lot of people are thinking, how did God say? What did you hear? Right. Can you confirm that it was God saying? What if it was just a coincidence? What if you're just lucky during your viva? Yeah. Explain all of that.
That kind of luck does not happen. And you don't hear those kind of things. You know what? Okay, so, on a serious note though, I find that it's like learning. Okay, so how do we learn language? It's practice, isn't it? So you practice the presence of God. Many times, by the time we get to the confidence of saying God said, you've had series of events where you're like, this could only have been God. And then they stop being random events and they become a day-to-day experience, because you're like, okay, the last time I asked God, okay, God, give me direction, and for something said to me, go this way,
So
and I
keep
did.
saying something before you start saying
So
God said.
exactly, now realize that, okay, hang on, this something that I said led me this way or the other. There's something to this something.
Yeah, somebody is saying something
So
somewhere.
you're like, okay, Lord, okay, let's try this. Yeah, I'm going to Lekki today. Should I go by the Ikoyi toll bridge, or should I go by the VI toll bridge? Which one should I go? And you hear something tell you, oh, go through Lekki. You go through Lekki, you now hear that something happened in VI. You now realize that, okay, Lord, I asked you a question and you answered me.
Yeah.
So even that, okay, Lord, what should I wear today? And God says, wear this. And then you realize that someone says, oh my God, I love your dress, and that's what gives you favor with the person.
Oh, okay.
So you now realize that, okay, I'm asking God questions, He's replying me. So there's something to be learned here. So like, okay, Lord, how about if I try this, and then all of a sudden you now realize when God is speaking to you. So before I said last year, oh, God is speaking to me, I've been hearing Him speak to me for years in what I would call my wilderness experience. So I was 7 years, you get, where I literally had to learn to hear God for myself. So by the time I'm saying God said, and honestly, anybody that knows me from before knows that this can only be God.
Yeah.
I won't sit down at home and say, I want to be doing conference in a hotel. It's not something that Esther would think about, you understand?
You're more laid back, aren't you? Or
I'm not laid back, but I'm very private. I call it publicly private. So a lot of people know me, a lot of people don't really know me.
Your details of your life, and it's something like girl talk, where it's God in real life talking. You have to share a lot of personal experience. Right. So obviously God has to be in that place of giving you the confidence to go there and tell you what to say. How much do you rely on God telling you what to say? Because what I've realized is that sometimes you say, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and at some point it looks like nothing is working out.
Right.
How much of what you do is a sacrifice? And when did you get to that point where you're like, you know what, I'd rather do this, but no, God, you do what you want to do?
I mean, like, this whole journey is one of surrender and sacrifice. But surrender first. You see, when 2014 October, I think September, I was working, in my uni, and I was having a conversation with God, and I was like, God, a lot of mistakes I made on my Christian journey, I wouldn't have made it if I had like people to be accountable to.
Yes.
Because there's a way when, as Christians, you have been Christian for so long, you're supposed to know this stuff. So there's some things you shouldn't say, because they look at you, I just want to say she's a Christian. You're even like a youth I'm not me, but there are people that are like youth ministers and so on. And how can you have these why questions?
Yes.
And I'm like, Lord, if I because I had two prayer partners, who were accountability partners. And so they were patient with me. I could say all the nonsense to their mind, and they would hear me, but they would say, but God said, you can't do that. That's not what God will want. And I'm like, there needs to be a space. And then also for strong women, people ask you, how are you doing? But they don't really care to hear the answer. They just want to palm more stuff on you.
Are you okay? Well, please, I need this.
Exactly.
And, straight on,
and so, but nobody knows that these people they're under heavy loads. Well, yes. So you need a safe space to share. So I said, okay, Lord, what about, let's do something, And so God gave me the idea for this girl talk, and it was an online fellowship at the time. But one of the things that He required from me on that day, He said, if you're going to do this, if you're going to encourage men to be vulnerable, then you yourself have to be vulnerable first. You can't ask for what you're not willing to give.
Them being honest with you, open with you, but you're not willing to do the same.
So I had to make almost like a vow to be open, to share my life and my journey. So you'll find that I am honest about everything, because there's no dark place for the devil to hide. So there's nothing that I cannot speak about.
There's nothing he can use against you. There's no shame. There's no
nothing.
guilt.
Do you know what I mean?
All there. Like there's nothing.
And there's freedom in that. So that was journey of surrender. Now I already told you about a sacrifice. I had to sacrifice my dream for myself, which was, the career path. And it's not an easy thing, because I talk about it now flippantly, but it wasn't easy to sacrifice that.
Yeah, everything you thought you were going to be, everything you've
But God doesn't waste anything, and I have to trust Him.
Yeah, let's even talk about that, because you did this PhD in marketing.
Right.
God in real life, you're going to have to market it, you're going to get people to come, you're going to have to sell it, potential sponsors. So you are still actually taking all of that knowledge, just in a different context than where you thought you were going to be.
Yes.
So it's actually interesting, because you now realize that nothing is wasted.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also had jobs where I thought, oh, what am I doing here? But next thing, Bez has a conference or a concert, and I'm thinking, oh, I learned this at that other place, I did this, and then I'm applying it.
Yes.
So you have this conference going on, and you're doing another one this year, obviously. Right. Let's talk about your doubts and your fears. Because you say, okay, God told me to do this conference, I'm going to do it, and it's been great. Ooh. the reality of it.
Yeah.
It can't be actually as straightforward as
No, it's not. Even the story I told you, it's not even a straightforward story. Literally, because in January, he says, okay, have the conference. And when I was writing, when he was telling me about the conference, I was like, oh, yeah, beautiful.
Nice
Yeah,
concept.
oh, yeah, nice one. Yeah, a cool hotel, no problem. Free. Oh, beautiful. Do you get? Because in my mind, I was thinking, it's like 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So I'm like, oh, sure, let's write it.
Because you've had your high-flying job, so this is just...
So I'm like, I mean, good, let's just write it down, make the vision plain, just put it in the book and keep moving. But then, by February, it became apparent that it was supposed to be 2016. So I like, okay, we're going to do this conference in 2016. But I said, okay. So I said to myself, I'm not the one that gave myself the vision, but I said to myself, okay, I don't want to do this in December because that's the end of the year, but as close to the end of the year as possible. So let's do November. So I'm the one that, and I'm making exactly. I'm being deliberate about saying this. So I said date for November. Then maybe like a week or two later, I now find that I'm pregnant. So, and I'm doing October. So, and I didn't think I kind of knew I'm not going to have my baby in Nigeria. So I'm like, how? In which universe am I going to
you fly
go
back, everything?
For a so obviously, I did it, and I did a journal. And I said journal, for those that don't know, I ran. Did you get? So I'll go have quiet time, but I won't stay long enough for God to say anything. I'll be like, good morning, Lord. Bye.
I love you, so you know that
we're
cool.
good. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'll see you. So I did this. This is from like February to April. And all of a sudden, it was a Sunday. I just felt there was something like almost like God was saying, we have work to do.
Yeah,
And Monday, one of my friends asked me, she's like, oh, this conference you're talking about, what's going on with it? So I just knew that God was confirming that, okay, it's time to move. And I was like, oh yeah, let's chat. So we had a chat about it, But what I was finding is, I would talk to people about the conference, and these are people who, I would tell them how, do you get? Like, look, I'm pregnant, this is supposed to be in November, do you get? How is it going to be? And people who are naturally logical,
so it's not possible. Just
that should
move it
exactly.
Year,
They'll be like, "Oh my God, that's great. That means we need to start working now." So I knew that they were not speaking of their own selves.
Yeah,
I knew that
they thought about it logically. They said no way, but they said yes.
So the fact that they were saying it, I was like, "Okay, God, these are signposts." So God gave me signposts on the journey, and anywhere I would say it, and I made sure I was saying it in a lot of places, and I would say it with so much confidence. I'll go back and be like, Lord.
"I'm talking, but I have no plan."
And then, wait for it. So God said, "Go hotel Abi." So I now just send the inquiry. So how much is your money?
How much is it costing?
Oh my Lord! The first invoice I got, I logged out of my computer, I logged out of the internet, logged out.
I didn't want to see this because that's a whole new.
I was like, what? Because also I had said to myself, oh, let's do it over a 2-day period. I'm like, there's so much to discuss. I didn't ask God. I said we'll do it over 2 days. And then my people were like, you can't ask people to come for all day and not give them food. The food alone for the 2 days was like 16 million.
They can't bring the food.
Yeah. Nah. So I'm like, God, what is this? I'm not understanding you. Even if you give me this money, how am I supposed to, do you understand, spend this money on this? And this was till October. Yeah, and the conference held in December. So I think I was talking to my pastor on the phone because I must have left Nigeria by then, or maybe one of the conversations we had before I traveled. I traveled in September, and he said, "Ask God for the date. If God gives you the date, then know that He will give you provision for everything." Yes. And so I asked God for the date, and I kept hearing number 5. And I thought, okay, 5th of December. But because I had said we're going to do a 2-day conference, I said, okay, so it'll be 5th and 6th.
Decided again.
Yeah. That's my work too. Just one. It's not my work in Jesus' name. Sorry, Lord. You get, but as I just so I did said 5th and 6th. So we were planning towards 5th and 6th of December, and so my baby was born in October. Now, so maybe the latest bill we had gotten from a hotel was still pricey. So she was born so my baby was born on a Thursday, and we're still in hospital till Saturday because even though she was born and there was milk, but she wasn't eating.
Yes.
And God had ministered. He had laid on my heart to breastfeed her exclusively. Yeah. So 2 days now they were having syringe. Long story short, she wasn't eating. And I was like, what is it? Do you get people that feed their children formula, they don't die? I'm tired, exactly. I'm not doing it again, Lord. What is it? And I just heard God say, persevere. I'm like, no, Joe, I'm not doing it again, please. So it was 11 o'clock in the night on a Saturday. So they wanted to take her up for observation, check her blood sugar and blah, blah, blah. This is part of the story. And so I got upstairs, and 30 minutes before God had told me to persevere. So I got upstairs and I'm talking to the doctor, and I'm like, doctor, I can't do this anymore. Let's do formula and so on. Now this doctor, she's Hindu, she's not, and she goes, persevere.
Oh, wow.
she now goes,
So if you had any doubts that it was God speaking,
she now goes, the God that wrote the book on breastfeeding knew what he was doing, so persevere. I was like, okay, Lord, I've heard, no problem. So the next day, they released us to go home. And so it's middle of the night, and my baby isn't eating, and my husband is like, let's give her formula, and my mother is like, let's give her water. And I'm like, no, this baby is going to be exclusively breastfed. And so I take her upstairs, and she feeds for the longest time. She feeds for an hour and a half, so I'm literally even begging her that please, I need to go and use the bathroom. But as she's feeding, God said to me, he said, Echo Hotel is like this baby that won't eat. They're logical formulas, but you know what I have said. Now, literally, an hour or two before that, I had gotten a message from the coordinators for the conference, and they were like, it's pretty much the gist was. So we met, and the question is, let's ask Esther if she really heard from God, because this hotel, maybe we should maybe we should look for another venue where it will be cheaper and we can bring our own food and so on. So let's just make sure that. So I was just like, God, you know, it's one thing. I said, you and I, we know how we do ourselves, you get, but you're
other people involved.
Exactly. No, you can't form my hand, literally.
Yes.
So then this happened, you know. So he was like, separate issues. I didn't tell you that people are coming to eat physical food. I didn't tell you that. There's a spiritual hunger. So separate issues, because the biggest bulk of the money was the food.
Yeah.
So separate issues, you get. Even if you want to add food later, because the court are not going to say they're not going to collect more money.
Yes.
So separate issues.
Book the venue
Book
first.
the venue.
At least let's even go from there.
Then I was talking to one of my prayer partner and everything. And she was like, "But did God tell you to do 2 days?" I was like, "Actually." So I prayed, and God said, "I didn't ask you to do 2 days. One day." So automatically that reduced the bill by maybe like 2/3, if not more. You know, and all of the speakers could come together on the one day.
Yes.
So I shared with the volunteer group, I shared with them this experience about God, about the logical formulas and the food and everything. And I realized I'm asking ladies to work on water with me, but I trust God to blow our minds in a way that He's never done before. And all of them started saying, oh yes, we're working on water with you, let's do this. And so in a week, we raised the deposit for the venue.
Fantastic.
And literally, we're paying for this venue up until the Friday before the Monday, but by the time we entered the venue on Monday, we're not owing them a single couple. In fact, because God is a wonderful God, God is the great provider. God will not call for vision without making provision.
Yeah.
So when we're there, I found out that we're getting money back. So our bank account at the end, was healthy.
It wasn't like empty.
Was healthy.
Fantastic.
So that's what God does. So what I've described to you is not a straightforward journey. There were doubts along the way, but He kept giving me signposts to get me to the point where I needed to be.